Hey folks, welcome back or welcome to Lone Pine Tarot, and I hope everybody is having a wonderful day today. Now, as you can tell by the title you just clicked on, we're exploring one of my favorite topics in tarot, which is life purpose. Now, even if you have already seen a life purpose reading before on my channel or other people's channels, I'm personally of the belief that we have more than one divine mission for our souls, so this reading is perfect for you both if you're new to the topic or if you've explored it before and just want to see if there's any other divine missions that Spirit wants to tell you about today. Now, before we get to the readings, I promise I'll be quick, but I just want to apologize for the state of my voice today. A few days ago, very unexpectedly out of the blue, I had to put one of my cats to sleep, and so as you can imagine, that grieving process was not kind to my voice in the first place, and then the very next day I got very sick. So we're running on honey and tea and fumes right about now, maybe a little bit of prayer as well for my vocal cords. So if I wheeze a bit, breathe a little bit heavy, sniffle, clear my throat, I do apologize. It's just because of everything that my vocal cords have been putting up with this week. But with that being said, let us choose our piles. As you can see, I already pre-selected each pile leader today. For pile 1 on the left, you have Pearl as your pile leader. In the middle for pile 2, you have Orchid as your pile leader. And last but not least, for pile 3 on the right, your pile leader is Maputla. So just to reiterate, pile 1, Pearl, pile 2, Orchid, pile 3, Maputla. But as I always say, you are perfectly welcome to pause right here if you need more time to decide what pile you would like read for you. But after you have meditated on it a bit, seen which card calls to you the most, you can drop down to the description box below, find the timestamp for your reading, and I will see you in our exciting chat about your divine mission, your life purpose. See you in the readings, everyone. Hello there, pile number 1. Welcome to your life purpose reading for today. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn to Pearl as your pile leader, and her keywords are empower, uplift, elevate, and her sentence or theme is she who rises up. So we'll keep those themes in mind as we look into your other cards for your life purpose reading. Now, let's begin with drawing your oracle cards and seeing what other themes pop out. So, of course, calling on Spirit today for the highest best good of pile 1. Please tell us more about what is the life purpose, divine mission for their soul that you want them to know more about today. Thank you. Okay, well, this one for sure. Quite prominent. And then let's also draw that one. And then next up we have the Sacred Destiny Oracle. And I'm already feeling that one down there. And last but not least, we have the Lantern Oracle, one of my absolute favorite oracle decks of all time. Well, that was quite fast. We'll keep shuffling, we'll see if anything else pops out, but I think for sure, as you can see by the way it flipped over, that is your Lantern Oracle for today. Excuse me. There's that scratchy voice I was talking about. I apologize. Alright, there we go. So your Lantern Oracle today is responding, not reacting, number 9. The only control we have is in how we respond to the hand we are dealt. And very specifically, you can see this card contains 2 figures. One is consoling the other, although they look very similar. So sometimes I see it as it's almost like siblings consoling one another, or it could also be a representation of you consoling yourself or consoling people that are very similar to you. So we'll keep those in mind. I can kind of see what direction this reading is already going in because of that. Maybe you do too, but yeah, I feel like I've already kind of latched onto at least part of your life purpose. And from the Sacred Destiny, we have security. We have the fire in the cave, something very inherent to us as human beings. We always associate safety and security with warmth and light and protection from the elements. Very integral to us as human beings. And then from your 2 Citadel oracles, you have the Witch with the, element of water. And her keywords are experimentation and rebellion, okay? Maybe we tend to walk on the wild side, or at the very least, we tend to guide our lives in a little bit more of an avant-garde way. Not so much following what other people tell us, but seeing what we want for our own lives. And then we have the assassin with ruthlessness and conviction and the element of fire. So we do have fire popping up again already, like twice, not just in the assassin, but also security, as the campfire makes me wonder if some of you are fire signs, or you do maybe have a lot of placements in your astrological chart with fire signs. Or, we do have a little bit of water here with the witch. So we'll also see your tarot cards will provide a lot more elemental description of who you are as a person, but yeah, maybe a fire sign is kind of what I am leaning towards. So, of course, I think someone who's very creative, someone who's very passionate and ambitious. Those are kind of the way I see fire signs. And what I was talking about before with the responding, not reacting card is, I think at least one of your life purposes, pile one, is being of comfort to other people. And when I say that, I mean you're someone who is meant to uplift other people. I mean, that was even one of your keywords with Pearl, too. In the way that you are almost a teacher of other people that have already been through experiences that they're going through an experience that you have already been through. So you're kind of like that sage mentor sort of vibe I'm feeling off of this reading. If not, just as like a sage mentor, like, of course, I always think of, say, Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. Obviously, he's like the quintessential sage mentor. Not so much like, a teacher to student in that way. It could also be just on like a very like same level. Like maybe you tended from a very early age to you tended to console people around your age when you were young. Maybe even as an adult, that's part of your career. Maybe you were like a social worker, therapist. You work with people in that way. Or it could also manifest in the way of their physical health nurturing. So, nurses, doctors, dentists, all the people in different nurturing type roles, or when it comes to supporting other people and keeping them healthy. But despite that, it's odd because on the other hand, you have this whole other side to your life purpose here with this nurturing role where you kind of do it in your own way. Because of that experimentation rebellion theme with the witch, I almost wonder if the way you go about your healing or nurturing is different than the way most people in those roles would do so. Maybe you are into very forward-thinking kind of healing, like, maybe you have always been very interested in being ahead of the curve when it comes to, remedies that people use, like, maybe typically people, they are in pain, so they go and reach for like an ibuprofen or a Tylenol or whatever, but then you might be like, well, no, actually, I've studied like this herbal medicine over here, and there's also like this medicine over here that has less side effects than if you were just to take an over-the-counter pill. Let's work with that. So, of course, we think of that as like, alternative medicine. Maybe that's another area of life that you have kind of explored in terms of your career. It can also mean that you are specifically meant to nurture people in the way of letting them know it's okay to not go with the beat of the drum as everybody else does, or to walk to the beat of their own drum, I guess, is the more common way to phrase that. And there's a bit of stubbornness too, because of that assassin with the ruthlessness, the conviction. Now, I don't really see you as ruthless necessarily, pile one. I just see it as you're very goal-oriented. You're very much like, I think you knew from a very young age, this is what I want to do, and this is why I want to do it. You already kind of, I think, as a soul, came into this incarnation understanding this is my role here, or even if you maybe didn't understand it right away, it's been this kind of subconscious undercurrent throughout your life where you've been kind of like, there's something here that I keep being drawn to, and even if you don't know why, that might be kind of a hint from spirit. Well, this is the reason why. Also with the security card, that makes me think of someone that is I said fire sign because of the fire, but it makes me think of earth energy too, because earth is all about security and stability. So some of you might also actually be earth signs, but you're a protector. You're almost like the cave around other people's fires. I think maybe in your life you have had to, at least I'm intuitively sensing, walk other people off the edge of things, so to speak. And you're almost kind of like an inspiring light in other people's lives, or at least that's part of your purpose here on Earth, is to provide that light to other people. You know, just like the moon is the light within the darkest of the night, as are fires, which is a prominent symbol and theme throughout this entire reading. Let me look over your other oracle cards as I draw your tarot cards. I don't think I missed anything, but I just want to be sure, especially when I look at your lantern oracle, because we did talk about the nurturing part of that, but let's keep going. Spirit, anything else you want to say to pile one about their life purpose, especially with the tarot cards? Thank you. You might also find often, pile one, that you play a role in teaching other people like emotional regulation. I don't know if when you were young, I mean, even up until this point, maybe you tend to be like a very emotionally sensitive person. And maybe that was a bit of a struggle with you when you were young in kind of honing that in and kind of not wetting it down, but making sure that, you know, you were able to manage your emotional sensitivity a little bit more. So that might be a way that you also play that mentor sage role, is in teaching other people, especially maybe younger people like children, how to emotionally regulate a little bit more, or how to survive as a very sensitive person. Because as we know, people that are highly sensitive, it is not easy to always exist in this world when you are highly sensitive. So that might be another role that you play, even if it is like literally within a career, like you help with therapy with people with being highly sensitive, or just in the way that you touch the lives of other people around you, especially the youth, I'm feeling, through like teaching them, like, it's okay to be sensitive. It's okay to be, you know, more on the emotional side, but here's the way, and here are different methods you can use to cope with living in this particular era, in this particular life, with that high sensitivity, okay? Now, as far as your tarot cards, we have the Empress reversed. Okay, speaking of nurturing, that is exactly what I was talking about, and I'm glad that this came through, because it's kind of a confirmation of my intuition here. So I apologize, it's repetitive, but the Empress reversed can represent that part of your life purpose is also, as I said, to nurture people and things where they have been neglected, okay? Because an Empress reversed can mean someone has been neglected in some way. Could also very possibly mean that early in your life that you were kind of neglected in some ways, especially because it's your very first card. So at least in terms of a timeline, your first card can mean this is like early energy from within your life that affected your life purpose. Excuse me. So a lot of people might kind of look to you as like a motherly figure or parent figure, even if you're not literally, of course, like their parent. It can also mean, too, that part of your life purpose is, you know, if you have chosen to have children, is in being a parent of some sort, even if it's not literally having kids, it can mean other people that you sort of parent in that mentor energy we were talking about before. So your second card is Death reversed, helping people accept change. Because Death reversed can mean that sometimes people have been struggling with accepting change. They're not ready so much necessarily to move on to the next phase of their life, and so you help them kind of process that. You might also help people literally process death, or you know, that might manifest in the way of, like, I think of like a funeral director, or working in spiritual services that help people process death, okay? Maybe you even work in, say, hospice, helping people kind of on death's door and providing them a comfortable road towards that change into the next life, right? So it's a lot of careers coming forward here, but yeah, very nurturing. You work a lot, I think, or you're meant to at least, to work on that liminal space between life and death, in terms of, yes, you're very nurturing on one hand, but I think you're also meant to be someone, like, you help other people process that change from life into the other side, okay? You comfort them in some of their darkest days, or you're supposed to, at least. Let's keep going. And then we have another major arcana. We have the Hermit. So speaking of wise mentor energy, it's kind of repetitive again, but the Hermit is all about someone who is very probably introverted or introspective, someone who maybe has spent a lot of time alone. But the beauty of that time alone is that you have become very wise in that time alone. Just like the Hermit is known as a figure separate from society, but has gained a lot of wisdom about society, having lived outside of it a lot. So you're probably very introverted, pile one. I already saw that with kind of the sensitivity, but not that extroverts can't be sensitive, but I tend to notice in my own experience that a lot of highly sensitive people tend to be introverted. But then you have the Hermit come out, which makes total sense. So, yeah, excuse me, I'm going to cough. There's that voice going. All right. And then you bring that wisdom that you have collected within your own time alone, and you shine it like that firelight or that understanding to other people. Very wise. Very old soul is another thing I'm hearing about this. I feel like you've had a lot of incarnations on Earth. I do see that kind of in our community a lot when I've done other life purpose readings. So, but you especially with the Hermit, I feel like you've done this before. And then we have the Three of Swords reversed. Okay. Once again, kind of repetitive, but it is about helping people overcome pain. So once again, makes me think of someone that is in nursing, healing people, and it can be not just physical pain, but also emotional pain, which we also discussed too. Say if you're in like therapy or you are a therapist, I should say, or even just, casually, not even if it's your career, helping people within your friend group, your family, your loved ones, overcoming times of pain. And so I feel like too, you have a really good sense of humor because of that. Because especially this Three of Swords, it's the woman in the front here that are kind of laughing. In fact, they're all smiling. Like, so it makes me think of someone that's kind of comedic. Someone that knows how to make other people smile to help them get through the harder times in life and help them get through their pain. It's odd because it's like you're so on the offbeat path from other people in terms of like living, as I was saying before, you walk to the beat of your own drum, but you're so heavily connected to other people in this lifetime in terms of like you're meant to be a healer of society. You almost kind of make me think of like the old archetype of like the good witch who lives on the outskirts of town. And some people kind of look at her a little askew because they're like, oh, well, I don't know, kind of superstitious. Like, oh, she's the witch that lives on the outside of town. But really what you are is like a healer or like an herbalist. Sort of. Like, not literally, but that's the kind of archetype from like fairy tales and like history that I'm thinking of that pops to mind intuitively when I am like thinking about you, pile one. And then last but not least, we have the Two of Wands reversed. Okay. You help people plan their future too, or that's part of your life purpose as well. Obviously, this is probably, excuse me. Ooh, there goes that voice. This is obviously quite integrated with a lot of the healing and like nurturing that you do. But I think even despite the healing and nurturing stuff, that's like on one hand, like step one or phase one of what you're meant to do. Phase two is you also help people move on from harder times in their life and healing and like death and helping them plan for the future after that. So once again, therapy comes to mind. You help people maybe process death that way, or I'm trying to think of like other ways that manifests, but yeah. And then, intuitively, when it comes to thinking about the color of your soul and your aura, a yellow is very prominent. So that just makes me think once again of, despite the heavy things that you work with, it's like I don't know how you do it, but you tend to maintain this levity, this happiness and this joy and uplifting others. And maybe that's why you were drawn to Pearl in the first place as your pile leader, because, you really are meant to empower and uplift other people. You're almost kind of like everyone's hot air balloon. Everybody needs a little bit of a lift sometimes. And, whether that be through your healing and your nurturing or through your comedy, your quick wit, your sense of humor, or even the wisdom that you extracted from your time as an introverted person, being alone a lot. If I had to describe you in one phrase, you probably would be like the offbeat healer, I guess, is kind of how I would summarize this life purpose. Let me see if there's any other stuff I can figure out here. I don't think I missed anything. Let's for sure look at the elemental associations with your tarot cards, though, because I promised we would do that. So we have the Empress, which is I always associate with Earth. And then Death, I always associate with, I don't know. For some reason I'm thinking water, and the Hermit too I'm thinking water. Those might not be the traditional elemental symbolisms of those cards, but then Three of Blades is air, and the Two of Sticks or wands would be fire. So kind of a lot of an elemental mix here. Definitely an ambitious person, I can tell you that. as I said, I feel like you came into this life kind of already knowing, even if it was just on a subconscious level, like, this is what I'm here to do. That, or like, as I said, even if it was subconscious, it was like such a core to who you are as a human being that it kind of came second nature. You didn't really even have to search for it or find it. Or even if you're coming to this reading and this feels new to you, you're like, oh, this is my life purpose. I think if you reflect on different moments in your life where you have nurtured other people, or where you have been that sage, wise mentor that kind of came out of their shell and provided your wisdom to other people, all the times that you've uplifted others, I think you'll find that those times in your life have been more common than you're maybe initially perceiving. So, yeah. I think a lot of you, too, this might stem from you having to... I don't know if you had some struggles with your parents when you were younger, but what I'm hearing is I feel like you almost had to kind of be a parent for your siblings when your parents couldn't be. Maybe you are the oldest sibling in your family, or like, even if it wasn't siblings, it could have been other children your age at the time, but like, it's like you had to be wise and parental from a very young age compared to most children. Some of you might have even felt like as if you didn't have much of a childhood because you had to grow up very fast. But on the silver lining side of that, despite, of course, that can affect us negatively, right? But the silver lining part of it is that it made you perfect for this role of this, as I said, it's like the offbeat healer. Very beautiful energy here, pile 1. So that was your life purpose reading for today, or at least one of your life purposes, one of your divine missions. I hope that you liked the reading. I hope that it resonated, and I hope that it helped you in some way. Once again, I apologize for the scratchy voice. I hope that didn't impede the reading too much when I had to cough. But if you did like the reading, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much if you choose to do so. Any one of those 3 things, if not more. And as we say in our tradition on Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. And I hope to see you in the next one, Pile 1. Bye. Hello there, my wonderful Pile 2. Welcome to your life purpose reading today. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn to Orchid. Now, her theme is She Who Thrives, and her keywords are flourish, prosper, and blossom. So keep those keywords and themes in mind as we see your other cards and weave together your life purpose reading. Now we're going to begin with your oracle cards today, so calling on Spirit for your highest, best good. Spirit, can you tell me more about the life purpose you want Pile 2 to know about today? What is their life purpose, their divine mission here on Earth? Thank you. Excuse me. All right, I'm feeling drawn to those 2 cards. And then we have Sacred Destiny Oracle. And I wonder if some of you are gardeners, Pile 2. It's kind of what first came to mind when I looked at your pile leader today. That, or you would be very good at gardening if you have not tried it already. I feel like some of you might have a green thumb. And last but not least, we have the Lantern Oracle. And that one, I feel, is calling your name. So there we go. Let's unveil your cards. So, your Lantern Oracle today, Pile 2, is... Speaking of being really good at gardening or growing things, we have creative power, which is, you can see she's pregnant in this particular picture because that is a representation of creative power. And her subtitle says, release your alchemical energy into the world. So, very nurturing people, very creative people. Keep that in mind as we keep looking at your other cards. Then from Sacred Destiny, we have Truth. Could be an air sign too. Doesn't necessarily mean an air sign, I suppose, but when I hear, like, truth as a keyword, I don't know, it could also be earth sign. Let's look at your other cards. From the Citadel Oracle, your first card is the Sleeper, with cause and effect and clarity. Kind of related to truth, right? This is the element of fire with this card, though. And then your other Citadel Oracle today is another fire card, the Spy Master, with knowledge and distrust. Despite that, though, I know you have 2 fire cards, so it's very possible that you are a fire sign, pile 2. A lot of these make me think of air signs because of not only truth, right? Because the air element is associated with truth in tarot cartomancy in general, but also like knowledge and, you know, a spy master is someone who communicates information, right? And then like cause and effect and clarity are also very associated with, I would say, like the air element in cartomancy. So I'm gonna do it 50-50. I think some of you are air signs, sun signs, and some of you are fire sun signs, okay? Although, of course, it's either that or you might have a lot of those placements in your astrological chart. But as I said, creative people, very nurturing people, especially with all that fire energy, that's a lot of creativity. You might even be an artist of some sort, you know, literally with like, say, painting. Maybe even paint like landscapes. That's kind of what comes to mind with the truth card. But then it can be other mediums too, like writing. It can be with like music. That's another way you can communicate creativity. And I think at least one of your life purposes Spirit is touching upon today is related to that creativity because it's such a prominent theme. And I think very specifically, because I can say creativity and that could apply in so many different ways, but what I'm hearing intuitively is it's creativity in the way that you oh, excuse me, there's my voice. Creativity in the way that you touch other people's hearts. Okay, you are meant to create things that, yes, they spark the creativity of other people and their hearts in terms of inspiration, but I almost feel like you create in a way that's supposed to speak to people in terms of helping them see life more clearly. Okay, and it's subtle. It's like a spy master would very subtly like bring forward information. They're not going to be very in your face about it, of course, because their whole job is to be sneaky with their information, right? They're a spy master, but at the same time, just because it's sneaky or it's kind of subconscious doesn't mean that it doesn't get information clearly to the people that need it. And that's why I feel like your creativity is the vehicle through which you're meant to provide that clarity to other people. And when I say clarity, pile 2, what I really mean is truth in terms of them understanding more about themselves, understanding more about their world, and just the world in general. And also, too, I think there's a justice element here. So not just because of all the air element associations, but when we talk about like cause and effect and clarity with like the sleeper card, it's like you help people kind of wake up to justice oriented themes, I think, with your creative work. It's weird because it's like on the one hand you have this, I think, this life purpose of, you know, here, I'm going to help people see the truth. But then at the same time, on the other hand, you're like, I have this life purpose of sparking their fire. I don't know. You're kind of an inspirational speaker, an inspirational creative artist. Yeah, I guess that's the main word that comes forward really intuitively is inspirational for you, pile 2. And even if you aren't, you know, the type of person that's recognizing that right now, you're like, well, I really don't make any art that really goes out and reaches people. That might be an avenue that you want to try to explore if you haven't done so already, because I do feel that very prominently with your reading today. And of course, you know, we have creative power. I think you're very talented, especially with any art that you do. I mean, you have fire energy and the creative power keywords in, quite abundance here. But you know, I think you're also really in tune with nature. I wonder if nature plays a part a lot in your creativity. And that's why I said maybe some of you are like landscape artists, but can mean that in other ways. Maybe that's kind of that gardening energy I was picking up on earlier. So you might even be creative in the way that, you know, you provide healing to other people with the way that you grow things, and the healing power of nature might be something you're also kind of attracted to. Now, let's grab your tarot cards. I'm very curious as to what those will say. We'll see 2 more about the elemental associations, because tarot has that in droves. So, Spirit, what else do you want to tell pile 2 about their life purpose today? I mean, if I had to summarize you in like 2 words, pile 2, it would be like an inspirational truth seeker or an inspirational motivator. I think you help people see things clearly. I think you help. I think that's the other thing. I think you also inspire hope in other people, or you're supposed to. Yeah, hope is the other keyword they're really bringing forward for you. Kind of like the light after the darkness, the light and the dawn after the night. This is really odd. Some of you are going to be like, this is really out of left field. I don't know if some of you work on things that help people sleep. I was looking at the sleeper card and I'm like, do you help people with like calming music or like calming? It might not be music, but it's like calming. Might be one of the purposes you have for your creative projects too. Like you're like, I want to bring calm to people. There's something about calmness there. I don't know, helping people sleep, helping people feel more at peace. And then we have the Six of Wands as your first card, which is the card of victory. Helping guide people along to victory or some of your life purpose. It might not be necessarily other people. It could also be that one of your life purposes here is to see victory with your creative projects, because as a Wands card, that is fire, which is that creative energy I was talking about. You have quite in droves here, right? Pile 2. So we have victory. Being successful, I guess, is another way to put that. We also have temperance reversed, which can mean a life purpose of helping people find more balance, or helping yourself find more balance, more moderation. And that makes me once again think of like calming, because it's like you help people, or you're supposed to help people kind of come down from extremes to a more peaceful mood, or more peaceful like area or like period of time in their lives. It's like you reduce chaos. You're like a very calming rain on other people's souls. Like, it's like you help them, or you're supposed to at least, make them feel like it's going to be okay. Yeah, you're like a very soft rain, Pile 2. Then we have the Four of Cups reversed, which can mean helping people notice things. That might be that clarity thing we were talking about earlier, because helping people notice things is like bringing their attention, like, here's this truth over here you guys are ignoring. Look at this over here. And once again, we have kind of a sleepy night scene. Someone's kind of getting ready for bed in their tent, which once again makes me think of helping people fall asleep in some way, or helping them calm. Absolutely beautiful energy here, Pile 2. Lots of purple, too, has been very prominent in your cards today. Also green, too, right? But so nurturing, also spiritual. I think you're very spiritually strong, too. I think some of you have spiritual abilities. If I had to pick out one, I think, at least related to your life purpose, I think one of your spiritual abilities is, it might be related to sleep. Maybe it's astral projection, then lucid dreaming, but although with the clarity, yeah, I don't know. You probably have clairvoyance too, Pile 2. Maybe that's one way that you also help people. All right, your fourth card is the Three of Cups reversed. Okay, helping people find more harmony in groups. I think that's another role that you play, or that you're supposed to, Pile 2, is that you help people. It's not necessarily that you're an extrovert, I think. I mean, some of you might be, but it's like you help people find their place in social groups, or like you help them feel more at peace in, like, if you were to see someone who is like, you're in a social situation, right? And you saw someone that looked like they were kind of on the outskirts, so they didn't feel like 100% invited in yet, like, because no one has really like noticed them, or like they're kind of in the corner. I think you're the kind of person that is meant to reach out to people like that and to kind of invite them in. You also, too, might kind of play mediator a lot with other people in terms of social groups, because of, we have so much of the air energy with like clarity, cause and effect, and like a truth and whatnot. And it's like, if people want a really objective point of view on their situation, especially when it comes to their relationships with other people, I feel like you're meant to be that person that is, like, that really good mediator. In fact, maybe that's what you do as a job, Pile 2. Maybe you work with mediation with people, like as a lawyer, or in like the legal field, something like that. Helping people figure things out and what's fair and what's not. And then we even have a calming scene again here, too, because they're in a hot spring. Yeah, soothing energy. In fact, your spirit kind of feels to me, Pile 2, like if I had to give your aura a color, it would be like a soft blue. That's kind of what I'm feeling. Yeah, Pile 1 was yellow, but you're like a soft blue. Excuse me. And then your last card is more air. We have the Ace of Swords. Excuse me, there's that cough. All right. We have the Ace of Swords, which is truth. We have that repeated again. So once again, just to reiterate, one of your life purposes is to seek truth. to see through the clutter and the chaos of life and help people and yourself find that truth. The Ace of Swords can also represent having new ideas, because it is like new energy combined with air energy. And so you might help people see new perspectives. Excuse me, I got a cough again. You help people see new perspectives, but you also might help people come up and iterate with new ideas, or maybe you're like a change maker in terms of like trying to bring new ideas to people's attention. All right. So you're very forward thinking, I think, too. You look towards the future. I think that's that sight I was talking about with like the clairvoyance. So it might literally be clairvoyance in terms of like predicting the future with spiritual abilities, but I think even if it's not a conscious like, oh, I'm going to look into the future thing with my spiritual abilities, I think you just are very, I don't know, you're so forward thinking. You see things with such clarity that most people kind of get mired down in, like, you know how a lot of people kind of get mired down in different viewpoints and everything that's said in social media and the news and everything that's going on, and yet I feel like you, Pile 2, you're able to just kind of clear through all that. And that's part of your life purpose, is to help other people see that truth. And calm them down from those extremes. So, just very soothing energy. Very calming energy here. Let me see. In terms of your elemental associations, you do have a lot of water. You do have 2 cups here with the 4 and the 3 of cups reversed. And Temperance I always see as a water card too, even though it's major arcana, so lots of water. Very possible you are a water sign. And even in your other cards, I mean, you have Snow and the Ace of Blades, and then the 6 of Wands, which would be fire technically. It is raining in that particular card. So I take it back. If I had to pin it down, you're either a water or a fire sign, I think, or you have a lot of air placement as well. So I tend to see people with those types of elemental associations as very creative and passionate and, communicative, the truth-seeking we were talking about, but then also someone who's really good with emotions and in their relationships with other people, or at least understanding the hearts of other people, okay? And I think that's why you make such a good mediator, or you're supposed to be, Pile 2, because you have that piercing understanding and clarity when it comes to social situations and other people. So you would be really good in careers of, say, mediation, or like couples therapy is another thing I'm thinking of. It comes to mind. A family therapy could also be, especially with all your creative power. I mean, being an artist of any sort. I mean, you probably already are, Pile 2, with all these cards that came out. You're probably like nodding along. Yeah, I already paint, I already sing, I already do this, that, play these instruments, etc. Just a very well-rounded, multifaceted person. So honestly, I wouldn't even pin down a specific career for you. I feel like you could excel in pretty much anything you put your mind to, because you are so well-rounded elementally, and you have that really sharp air energy, which is, I just kind of think of air signs as very adaptable and very like, because of their intelligence, they tend to be very good about like learning new things. And I don't know, you kind of maybe are a jack of all trades, master of none. I do see that, as an air sign myself, kind of in my own life. You just want to learn so many things, because everything intellectually stimulates you, that you kind of find yourself maybe drawn to different careers. And maybe you found that too, Pile 2, where you kind of just never really could decide on one career. You just want to do everything. You're like, well, this thing is cool and this thing is cool. Well, this catches my interest this week, etc. Excuse me. There's that cough again. And yeah. See, I don't think I'm missing anything. I just want to make sure, though, before I sign off with you, Pile 2. So yeah, just to summarize, I mean, life purpose is to help other people excel, to speak truth through your creative projects, to create in general, to help people calm, especially when it comes to relationships with other people or in social groups, to mediate and help people see the truth through the clarity that you have and your understanding of the world. It's a lot more crystal clear perhaps than other people's, because you don't really get mired down in the mundane. You kind of see things from a higher spiritual perspective, is what I'm hearing. And people need that sometimes, especially in our modern world. It's good to have people that have a clear perspective and a spiritual perspective. rather than getting our perspectives marred by anger or more earthly things, I guess is the way I would put that. So keep doing you. Keep being you, pile 2. Very important energy to this particular lifetime, okay? Very beautiful soul. Okay, so that was your life purpose reading for today, pile 2. Kind of a lot of different life purposes, but I hope that at least one of them resonated with you, that you liked it, and the reading helped you. If so, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff, and thank you if you choose to do any one of those 3 things, if not more. And thank you for bearing with me through my voice today. As you can tell, it's not up to par, but we got through it. So thank you for your time and your attention. I appreciate all of you. So, as we say in our tradition, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, pile 2, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Bye. Hello there, my wonderful pile 3. Welcome to your life purpose reading. And as you recall, you were drawn to Maputla as your pile leader. And her theme is She Who Guides, and her keywords are new path, guide, and renewal. So let's keep those keywords and that theme in mind as we go through your other cards, weaving together your life purpose reading today. We're going to start with your oracle cards. So calling on spirit for pile 3, can you tell me more about their life purpose for their highest best good? Thank you. And I do especially apologize to you, pile 3, for my voice out of the other piles, because you're my last recording today, and so unfortunately my voice is a bit scratchier than it was at the beginning. So thank you for your patience with the quality of my tone today. And we have your Sacred Destiny Oracle. Okay, well, that one's quite obvious. It's sticking out prominently, so we'll take it. And last but not least, we have your Lantern Oracle. Alright, and I'm feeling drawn to that one. Let's reveal your Oracle cards, pile 3. So first up to bat for the Lantern Oracle, we have number 24, Emptied. The ending and beginning lie at either side of the same door. So we have a card of transitions, a card of, as it says, endings and beginnings. I already am kind of feeling a little bit of a theme off of this card, but I just want to see what your other cards say before I speak too much. Especially because your pile leader is like a wintry type card. I wonder if a lot of you are really highly spiritual, and I mean that in terms of spiritual abilities, your connection to the other side. I wonder if some of you are mediums, and I say that meaning like communicating with the other side, right? And then once again, we have another winter theme card. We have a polar bear with leadership, with Polaris up here, very quite bright, the North Star. Beautiful. So leadership, spirituality, lots of blue and green colors, and then your Citadel Oracle. The first one is, oh, pile 1 had this one too, the Witch, with experimentation and rebellion and the element of water. So you definitely walk to the beat of your own drum, just as I said to pile 1. You don't necessarily follow mainstream, pile 3. And then the second card is more water. So the adventurer, responsibility, and expectations. Yep, so that kind of reflects the leadership theme with the responsibility. But then we have water repeated here too. So I wonder, because of all the wintry things, and then also because of the water signs in your Citadel Oracle, and then even the Emptied card, there's like water in it. And obviously it's kind of a representation of, you know, the womb, which is associated with water and the feminine energy. I think a lot of you might be water signs. Not necessarily. I mean, you could also be that you have just a lot of water placement in your astrological chart, but what first comes to mind when I think of a water sign or someone with a lot of water in their energy is someone with a life purpose that is related a lot to our feelings, our emotions, our hearts. Following the heart is another theme that pops up, but also in the way that we nurture and connect to other people, because the water element in tarot, cartomancy in general, is our connections to other people. Okay, so I think you have a very, other person-oriented life purpose. It could be something to do with service to other people, or Yeah, social related things. Even if you're an introvert, it doesn't mean you have to be an extrovert to have a social life purpose. It can mean, even if it's more just like one-on-one lives that you touch rather than big groups of people. I do see that with you. But you do have leadership and responsibility kind of repeated here. And even with Maputla, which is she who guides, I mean, someone who guides naturally is a leader, right? Pile 3. So I think you specifically are supposed to live a life with at least one divine mission regarding being a leader to other people and guiding other people. I see you doing it almost in, it can be a nurturing way because of all the water energy and feminine energy you have here, but it can also be in the way where you just lead by example. So some people have a life purpose where it's literally like spirit saying, okay, touch these lives in a way where you literally go to other people and try to inspire this change in them. Sometimes the life purpose, though, is more oriented towards inspire changes in other people, more so in the way that they see your example and you don't even have to consciously, even interact with people necessarily, the lives that you're touching. They just see you like a North Star, like a leader, and they're like, oh, that's a way that I can live my life. And especially because you have the witch, which is experimentation and rebellion, pile 3, I think you especially help people, or supposed to, with this life mission, in the way that you show them that they can live a life where they don't have to follow the mainstream, or they don't have to follow a prescribed path, okay? In society, we typically have the whole, prescribed idea of success. We have, go to school, get a degree, get married, have kids, get a house, white picket fence, etc. All those things, right? Have a nice car, whatever that might be. But you, pile 3, I think you understand that, at least from a spiritual perspective, and I think that's why spirituality came up so prominently for you. I think that's one of your strong suits as a person, especially in terms of your spirit. You understand that material stuff isn't the end-all, be-all of existence here. Especially because I think you are an old soul, is what I'm hearing, pile 3. I get the sense that because you are more in a leadership position in this life, even if you don't consciously lead other people, right? My experience tends to be, we teach other people no matter at what level of the spiritual growth ladder we're on, no matter how many incarnations we've had here on Earth, at least in my personal belief, but I tend to see people like you as people that have had souls that have lived a lot of lives, hence why you're in a teaching leadership position, okay? You are meant to be a North Star to other people. So if I were just, based on these oracle cards, just to summarize you in one phrase, it would be a North Star. Just like an adventurer even would in a story, right? Because that's why we read stories, right? Pile 3 is we read them, well, for entertainment, yes, but number 2, to feel that kind of catharsis and that connection to a character that we can kind of see pieces of ourselves in and relate to their struggles and can inspire different traits within ourselves and all those things, right? It's part of being human is hearing the stories of others. And so I almost wonder if, unbeknownst to you, you're kind of the adventurer in other people's stories that they, well, not read necessarily because, you're a human being, but maybe you have written some of your life down and that's inspired other people. But most of the time, I mean it in the way of that indirect inspiration. If people were to read a book about your life, you'd be the kind of person they would see as that adventurer that walked off that beaten path, that understood there was more to life to seek rather than just the material things to gain. And it sparks something in their soul that says, hey, wait a minute. Well, pile 3 did that, why can't I? Or even if it's not the same thing, it might inspire them in the way of walking to the beat of their own drum on their own path, okay? So you're meant to kind of break people out of, what's the best way to put it? You're meant to break people out of a really strict interpretation of how you're supposed to live your life. You help them see that you can live life in so many different ways and be just as accomplished, quote unquote, in a spiritual way than if they just walked, the whole path I was just talking about, house, kids, car, whatever, white picket fence, you know what I mean? because you see things from such a spiritual perspective. You don't see it from a material perspective, okay? Now, let's actually grab your tarot cards. I haven't gotten to your tarot cards yet, but yeah, I do see a lot with that. I do see, too, with your emptied card, I almost wonder if a lot of you, either through, excuse me, I got a cough. There's that voice acting up again. Excuse me. If a lot of you, either through your mediumship I was talking about earlier, if you do help people process death in that way, if you do actively like help communicate with the other side for people, it can also mean that you would be really good in careers, if you don't already work one of these, where you help people through transitional processes. Because as the card says with Emptied, it's about endings and beginnings. So that can be working with maternity, bringing people into the world, obviously helping, parents bring kids into the world too. Or even if it doesn't even mean to be humans, it can be, in terms of maybe you've fostered a lot of animals and helped them, birth their babies. That could be another way that manifests. But it can also be on the other side of life where we find endings instead of beginnings, helping people process death, helping people, maybe even in hospice, for example, might be one thing you're attracted to in terms of a career, helping them walk that path from the end of their life into the next life, okay? Maybe that's why you were drawn to mediumship or the other side a lot, because you've already kind of seen a lot of death, perhaps. And so you understand it from, it's not an ending, it's really just a gateway into something new, right? So, if you haven't done those things, you'd be really good at it, I think, because of this life purpose, right? Excuse me. All right, my voice is holding so far. Let's see. All right, so the first card you have. Oh, speaking of death, well, what do you know? You're kind of like pile 1 a lot. They had very similar themes, pile 3. So if you were also attracted to pile 1, that might be why. But yes, death is about helping, especially in reverse, is helping people accept change. Okay, so helping them at the very beginning with accepting the change of new life in their life. And at the very end, accepting the change of the process of maybe literally death or letting things go, okay? You're very attuned to the other side. I almost wonder if you saw spirits a lot when you were young. Maybe that's why, another reason. But and then we have the King of Cups. More water energy there, pile 3. Definitely feel like you are a water sign, or that is your main element in terms of your personality. A King of Cups is someone who's very emotionally mature. You help people with processing their emotions and understanding them. I feel like as a friend or to the people around you, pile 3, you tend to be a leader in terms of helping them understand their feelings or helping them process, like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of you might have found a repeat pattern in your life where people turn to you for like relationship advice too. Might be another really good thing for you to look into in terms of career too. If you're interested in that, you might be really good with helping people find relationships or patching relationships, which, of course can mean like couples therapy, family therapy, whatnot. Definitely old soul. Yeah, I already said that before, but King of Cups comes out, makes me think of an old soul too. Navigating life's emotional challenges. Then we have the Ace of Wands reversed, helping people find inspiration, being that guiding light in the night for them, helping spark inspiration in their own lives, which we already talked about that too, because I think, as I said, your leadership isn't always a very conscious one, pile 3. Your life purpose is more about inspiring people unconsciously or indirect ways, just by the way they view you. As I said, like that adventurer in that story that they're viewing from an outside perspective with you. Because the Ace of Wands reversed is like people that they need help sparking something in their life. And that can mean like in terms of their ambition, in terms of their spirit when it comes to their passions. It can mean in terms of their inspiration too. You're like that guiding light, or even when you look at this particular depiction, it's like a sun rising. Like it's a new day. You help them see that light after dark times, or you're supposed to, you're meant to. And then your fourth card today is more fire, the Two of Wands, which is planning for the future. We have people that are trying to navigate a map, charting their course. Which direction do we take? We have 2 paths, this way and that way. I think that kind of leans into your very advice-oriented role with other people, too. You're kind of, as I said, that sage mentor, too, a little bit. Because I feel like, God, you're like pile 1 today. Because on the one hand, you help people with processing their endings, but then at the same time, you help them see inspiration in the future for their new beginnings, or like, how do I go from here? Like, I don't know if you've also helped a lot of people in terms of their direction in life. That's another way that that Two of Wands can manifest as well. Lots of fire energy on top of the water. And then last but not least, we have the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is spiritual. So that just reiterates what I was talking about intuitively. Very spiritual people, very spiritually strong, strong spiritual abilities too. Because the Hierophant is a spiritual leader in some way. But he also, excuse me, I have to cough. There we go. Whew. Okay, let's keep going. So spiritual leader, but also someone that is, they uphold traditions. They uphold the old ways of things. They remind us of how things were. Can also be authority. And once again, so we have that leadership theme come in very prominently. So if I really had to pin it down to like one life purpose, though, from that card, it would be, I wonder if a lot of you are interested in the past. And when I say that, I mean, I don't know if you're really, it doesn't necessarily mean that you do it as a job. Maybe you do, but maybe you're into like archaeology or like older spiritual systems, or maybe you were a history major, or that was a really prominent favorite class of yours when you were in school. I don't know, for some reason I'm feeling like you had a past life in Egypt. For some reason Egypt is coming out really prominently, or maybe if you are an archaeologist or anthropologist, that's like a very prominent time period that you're interested in, or even as a hobby, like maybe you really have been also are always fascinated with Egypt. I don't know why Egypt's coming out, but it is very prominently. And so I feel like you uphold traditions, you uphold the past, and you see the glory of the past in that way. Also, you might analyze a lot of past religions or like spiritual beliefs too. Maybe that's why you are so spiritually strong, is because, you didn't just grow up with one religion and stick with that religion, and that's been kind of your guiding star your whole life. I feel like a lot of you, pile 3, you maybe grew up with a religion, but then like you explored a bunch of different ones. Like I feel like you're just always like truth seeking with spirituality too. And I think that's where a lot of your wisdom and your leadership comes in. And that's also kind of your off the beaten path theme with the witch card, as we discussed earlier. Because that's the other thing, like a witch is someone that does kind of follow, off the beaten path in terms of their spirituality. But it's always in a helpful way, at least the way I see that with your life purpose, pile 3. I feel like, sorry, I'm getting in a message. 1 second. It's going to be quiet for a moment. Yeah, they're saying you're the fire that ignites the spark in other people. Like if Spirit had to summarize you in one sentence, that's what they would tell you. So just to kind of bring everything together in full circle, kind of a lot of life purposes came out in this particular reading, pile 3, but in terms of careers, I mean, you're quite multifaceted. You could probably do a lot of different careers. But I think especially ones surrounding history, as we discussed, or spiritually centered careers, like literally being, say, a medium, doing mediumship readings for other people might be a really good avenue for you to explore. Or any job or career that allows you to inspire and lead other people would be a really great avenue for you to explore. That and or helping people process their emotions and their relationships and healing them or from, say, bad relationships that they've had. Or like I said, hospice or maternity. Either healing people at the very beginning of their lives or at the very end of their lives. That would be another good, I think, way for you to express this life purpose, or these many kind of multifaceted life purposes we've seen here with your reading today. Beautiful energy, pile 3. And if I had to summarize your aura or like your soul color, which I don't always do this in every reading, but for some reason today, Spirit's like, tell them their soul color. I feel like red is a really prominent color for you. And it's odd because you have a lot of like water energy and you have like a lot of like blue themes and green themes, but I don't know. Red is just what I'm seeing. Maybe that is your favorite color, pile 3, but yeah, red. Warm, very kind people, I feel like, too. It's kind of the sense I'm getting off of your spirit today. Gorgeous. Well, thank you for letting me read for your life purpose today, pile 3. I believe that is everything. I hope the reading helped you. I hope that it resonated, that you liked it. And thank you so much for bearing with me through my scratchy voice today. We made it through, yay. A few coughs on the side, a little bit of wheeziness on the side too, but thank you for your patience with my voice, and thank you for watching this reading. If you did like it, if it did resonate, if it did help you, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. Thank you if you choose to do any one of those 3 things, if not more. And as we say in our tradition on Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Bye, pile 3.